Now, now that I got the transmission out far enough, I noticed that I was able to pull the torque converter out sideways, pretty much with a little bit of ease. And I was able to get to the front pump seal. So what I did was I went ahead and pried out the front pump seal, as you see, so that I don't have to totally take the transmission out and then fight it back into the car. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and try to change the pump seal while the transmission's still sitting on the front cross member. So that way it'll save me a little bit of time putting it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one and the rest of the way out. As you see, I popped it out. I'm going to take it off and I'm going to go ahead and put the new one in it, put the torque converter back on. Then I'm going to put a strap partially around the transmission to halfway hold the torque converter in place while I start putting it back into the car. Now that's the old seal right there, already out, and I've already got the new one in. I'm going to show you how I did it real quick. So, and I didn't have to pull the transmission fully out. All I did was I've got it as far as I could. It's still sitting on the chassis, so that way I can put it back in a little bit easier than if I had to pull it completely out. So I went with this route. I'm going to show you how I did it on the seal in a second. Since mine was just the seal that was leaking and it wasn't really bad, what I did was I went ahead and I took my socket and I put the flatter end up against the seal and I worked my way around as I could until it's completely in there. So that way it saved me a little bit from completely having to take it out. The other thing too I forgot and I need to touch on is don't forget to take out, and actually I didn't take transmission fully out so I didn't have to do this, but you'll have, if you're going to pull the transmission out, you've got a little 10mm bolt on, it looks like an old motorcycle type shifter kind of thing where it just slides on a shaft and has a bolt going through it. You're going to have to remove it. It's 10mm and it's got a lock tab, so you'll have to push the lock tab out of the way. So everything else is together. I'm going to put the torque converter in, I'm going to put a strap on it, then I'm going to start working it back in. My camera decided to give you a close-up of the new seal. And on a quick note, I wanted to go ahead and show you, here is the torque converter out. And I wanted to show you, one of the things you want to inspect is you want to come up here and make sure there's no huge groove worn in there where the seal goes. You want to check the O-ring right here, make sure it's in good shape. That's the O-ring right there. Check all that, you just pretty much once it over, but you really want to look around through this area and make sure that's where the seal makes contact with the torque converter, and you want to make sure it's not a gigantic ring across there, because I don't care if you put a brand new seal in there or not, if it's got a huge groove worn in there, it's just not going to seal correctly. So this one actually looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the Honda, and I just want to show you that real quick. So let me get this on there, get it strapped to the transmission. The other thing too is you got 3 different layers of shafts in there, so you have to make sure you get everything wiggled in there before you start totally torquing down your transmission. Otherwise you can break a pump. So, and we'll go from here. Now, once you get the torque converter back in there, as you see there's my marks I made too, so I know I put this back onto the actual flex plate, so that's bolted in correctly. But if you see that much of your ring gear sticking out, then the torque converter is not all the way in there. So you have to keep playing with it till it pops the rest of the way in. And I'll show you, I'll come back and I'll show you when it's in correct place what it should look like. Now, I've got it where it's supposed to be. And as you can see, actually you won't be able to see too much, so I'm going to show you. There is, it goes in. I'm in a bad position, but as you can see when you come around flush, you can see it drops in pretty good. And what I did was I took a screwdriver and I went underneath the gear and I just kind of wiggled like up and down as I turned it like that until I got her to pop into the correct groove. And it goes in, it's a good 1/4 inch. So that's pretty much what you need to be looking at. Now I'm going to put a strap across the center right there and hold it in there as best I can, but you have to have that much of a room in there because the flex plate actually sticks out a little bit of the block, which, there you go. See how far out that sticks out? So that is what you're dealing with. So anyways, let me get this closer in and we'll start putting this bad boy back together. Okay, now here's my strap, and this is what I did. I tied it kind of high on the edges so that way I could pull down in the center so that it's actually pulling back up onto the torque converter to help hold it in place. After you spend all that time trying to get the torque converter into place, you want it to pretty much stay where it is. So, and it can stay just like that all the way down to the last second for the most part. So that's, I hope that helps you guys out. That's what I do. Helps keep my torque converters in place while I wiggle the transmission back where it's supposed to be.